Hello everyone and welcome into another edition of ESPN FC with myself, Alexis Nunes, alongside Stevie Nicol and Shaka Hislop. We know we're into the international break, but there's still plenty to talk about after a jam-packed weekend full of club football. Let's have a look at the top half of the Premier League standings. Arsenal dropped points this weekend against Sunderland, but they are still at the top of the table. 4 points clear of Manchester City, who are starting to breathe down their necks. And should that be a concern for the Gunners? Because yes, they have led the likes of Manchester City before in the table at exactly around this time back in the 2022-2023 season, and we all know what happened then. They ended up finishing second, 5 points behind Manchester City, who went away and won the title. So, like I said, Arsenal have been in this situation before.
The biggest thing and the most important thing for Mikel Arteta is to make sure that not just himself and his coaching staff, but the players aren't looking over the shoulder. He has to make them concentrate on what's next in hand, the next game, the next pass, the next shot, the next whatever. So the minute you start looking behind your back, that's when you take your eye off the ball, in my opinion. I don't think this Arsenal side will. I think there's a different mentality about this Arsenal side. But again, it's up to Mikel Arteta and his coaching staff to make sure that they and the players don't look behind themselves, and all they do is concentrate on what they're capable of on the field, and that's all they need to think about.
Well, Shaka, you said it just this weekend that this title right now, the way Arsenal are going, the fact that they've gotten so many reinforcements, they have such a good squad, it is theirs to lose, not concentrating on what City are doing. But in the game against Sunderland, Stevie pointed out that Sunderland went after Arsenal with that physicality, almost bullying them in a sense. So even though their mentality may be different, do we see now a blueprint on how to go after Arsenal?
Well, I guess in some respects, but I'm not sure how many can emulate that blueprint that Sunderland showed against Arsenal. Sunderland know who they are. They have that kind of physical experience that comes with the championship that I'm not sure many teams in the Premier League right now can even think about emulating. I just take that as a one-off. Listen, nobody will go the rest of the season undefeated. It's how you cope with those setbacks, and this is just a draw. In the greater scheme of things, it's 2 points dropped, no more. These things happen, and it's how you respond to them that dictates where you finish. To Stevie's point, while there's a different feel about Arsenal this season, there's also a slightly different feel about Manchester City. Yeah. For this season, especially if you want to compare it to 22-23. Now, as good as Haaland has been, and as good as well, City are improved on last season. I'm still not sure that this City is as good as the one we saw 2 years ago. I'm not sure that City have the goals in depth that they did in that 22-23 season where they ran Arsenal down. So I think it's a very different feel in so many respects. Now the thing is, and it still holds, that until Arsenal can see it through, you just don't know. And that is right now what Mikel Arteta is trying to prove wrong. That we can see this through. It's okay for the rest of us to sit aside and wait for them to do that. Now Arteta has got to prepare the squad for what's to come, understand where it went wrong last time out, and how do you fix it. But during the game, I saw that and I thought, nothing wrong with that. That's a part of the game. It's pretty physical. But the more you see it, and I know slow down replays are always difficult to really judge. But the more you see it, especially in these slower motions, it really does look like he throws that arm, as opposed to it being a flailing arm or in the natural act of jumping. Where, again, in real time, at real speed, I just thought, oh, it's one of those collisions that happens inadvertent. I'm sure it hurt, but it was inadvertent. But the more you see the replay, the more it looks
just a quick thing on that. The referee, though, refereed that particular instance the way he refereed the game up till then. Because there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of head clashes, which, you know, you could slow down and look and say one or the other was responsible or reckless. So in a lot of ways, the referee judged and refereed that particular instant on the way he had been refereeing the game previously. And so from a player's point of view, that's what we like. You know, if the opposition does something, doesn't get booked, and then you do it, as long as you don't get booked, you're okay with it. And I think, again, maybe that's another reason why he didn't send him off.
Mario, what did you think of it?
No, I think, look, okay, I understand what the guys are saying, but if I'm going for the ball and my arms are going, I'm going to have them up. The only thing why I didn't jump on it is because he doesn't really swing with the elbow towards his face. He's going up, you understand, to go after the ball. Maybe the only thing you could say, okay, his arm is too high, but still, I'm a defender. I want to go and win that ball, and I felt like he didn't really went for him. He went for that ball.
All right, well, I think we can finally go to our Frank LaBeouf there. Frank, you were a bit quiet for the first half. I think we had some technical difficulties. You need to learn to pay your Wi-Fi, Frank. You won a World Cup. We know you have the dinero. Anyways, Frank, what did you make of the conversation?
I'm sorry. I was a little bit short at the beginning of the month. I'm very sorry, but I will try to do my best. But well, you know, I was listening to the guys, and well, I want to go back straight to the elbow, and I refused, you know, after being having my nose broken 3-4 times, you know, in English football, to think that that football became so soft that now, because you jump, because you try to get your space, you are elbowing somebody, you deserve a red card. I will never go there, because I really think that Bala doesn't do it on purpose, doesn't try to push Merino away, as Mario said, he doesn't swing in towards Merino. He just tried to push forward to get the ball before Merino. So therefore, in order to do that, you need to push with your arm. That's a natural move. And again, I will refuse. It's a contact sport. I will refuse to think that that kind of move deserves a red card, because that guy plays the ball. And again, it's football. I mean, I will never go there. I can understand what the guy wants to prove, but you know, when Shearer was knocking me like that, and when somebody else was knocking me like that, or even headbutt me, and the ref say, play on. It wasn't a century ago. It was 20 years ago. It was only 20 years ago. And it was play on. And so I will never go there. I'm sorry.
Frank, don't get me wrong. In a lot of ways, I'm with you. In a lot of ways, the reason I enjoyed this game is because the way it was refereed.
Yeah.
But this is a one-off. The game's not refereed like that anymore. It's not okay, whether it's accidental or you mean it, it's not okay to stick your elbow in somebody's face. And so it's the way the game's refereed. Whether we, because of what we went through, like it or not, the game's not refereed like that anymore. You know, if you accidentally go over the top of the ball and catch somebody, you can't turn around and say, well, I didn't mean it, and 20 years ago it was okay. Stevie, we don't have to agree with the ways being refereeing. We are there to give the audience the experience that we have and the legitimacy that we have in talking about football. And the thing is, we know about as players that what we have seen is not deserving a red card, because the guy just plays the ball and plays football. So if it's wrong, maybe we have the right to say, well, you know, referee, change your mind, do something else, because you are going the wrong way. It's becoming so soft, like soon you will just push the guy like that and they will give a red card. So it's becoming stupid in a way. It's why I say it.
Well, Mario, let me come to you just speaking about...
You know what the thing is? The thing is, you know what, Alexa? The thing is, maybe me and Frank, we both broke our nose, so that's why maybe we're a bit more sensitive. You see, so that what happens.
Well,
Stevie was broken nose. That's the difference between Stevie and I. Stevie and us. Stevie was breaking nose. That's the difference.
A long time before we saw anybody break through that Arsenal defence quite like Sunderland did in this game. So did they expose some weaknesses in what we thought was quite the formidable defence for Mikel Arteta?
I think watching the game, right, one of the key things what Sunderland did at the start, they pressed them. They pressed them really hard in the first, like, I think 10 minutes. And when Sunderland saw that physically they couldn't keep up with that, doing that, because Arsenal is a confident side. They know how to manage to move the ball around. Okay, next thing they did, they started to play the tough game. If you look at the first half, you had to look at Xhaka. Xhaka set the tempo. And you always have one individual in your team that is going to set the tempo. He's the captain, but also the one that, you know, said he knows Arsenal really well because of his past. But the way he said it, you saw the way he was screaming to Merino when he didn't even touch him and he went down. He lost his head. And the whole team was going after like that. And that's why, if you see the first goal Ballard scored, they press them, you know, they press.
Penalty miss, Ballard's costly error, and Brobbey's high boot, breaking down the controversial moments from Sunderland versus Arsenal. Football London takes a closer look at the key refereeing decisions that shaped Arsenal's 2-2 draw with Sunderland, including a missed penalty call, a disputed Daniel Ballard goal, and the dramatic late equaliser that left the Gunners frustrated. For the first time since their draw with Manchester City, Arsenal dropped points, held to a tense stalemate at the Stadium of Light. Mikel Arteta's side faced one of their toughest and most organized opponents of the season and looked on course for victory, until Brian Brobbey's stoppage time strike silenced the travelling fans. It wasn't just the result that stung. Several refereeing controversies added fuel to the frustration. After falling behind early, Arsenal saw two questionable calls go against them, both of which could have swung the game in their favour. Referee Craig Pawson once again found himself at the centre of the post-match debate. Below, Football.London reviews the major incidents from the match. 1. The missed penalty on Mikel Merino. Early in the first half, a dangerous cross from Leandro Trossard caused chaos in Sunderland's box. As Mikel Merino went up to challenge for the ball against former Arsenal defender Daniel Ballard, the Sunderland player raised his left arm and caught Merino hard in the head before heading the ball away. The Spanish midfielder collapsed to the turf and required lengthy medical attention, forcing multiple stoppages in play. Analysis. If that type of contact had happened anywhere outside the box, it would almost certainly have been called a foul. Ballard made clear, forceful contact with Merino's face before winning the header. Similar incidents, like Victor Gyökeres's denied penalty against Newcastle when Nick Pope touched the ball first, have been ruled inconsistently. In this case, the contact was obvious, and if the referee didn't see it, VAR should have intervened for a clear and obvious error. Verdict: incorrect decision. Penalty should have been awarded to Arsenal. 2. Zubimendi's yellow card and the questionable free kick. In a moment of irony, this play began with what looked like a missed foul at the other end. Granit Xhaka appeared to clip Ebereki Ease from behind on the edge of Sunderland's box without playing the ball. Seconds later, Sunderland broke forward, and as Martin Zubimendi stretched to intercept, the referee blew for a foul and booked him for stopping a counterattack. Sunderland scored from the ensuing free kick, a sequence that changed the game's rhythm entirely. Analysis. Replays showed Zubimendi clearly got a firm touch on the ball before any contact with the attacker. If a foul had been called, a yellow card would have been fair under the stopping a promising attack rule, but in this case, it was simply the wrong call. The official also appeared to miss the earlier foul by Xhaka on Ease, another moment that influenced the play's development. Verdict: incorrect decision. No foul should have been given. 3. Brobbey's high boot and the late equalizer. Just when Arsenal looked set to secure all 3 points, the Gunners were undone in stoppage time. In the 94th minute, Brian Brobbey found the net after a chaotic sequence inside the box, drawing Sunderland level and sending the home crowd into celebration. Brobbey appeared to lift his foot dangerously high during the challenge with Gabriel, who went down holding his face immediately after the goal. Despite brief appeals, the referee allowed play to continue, and VAR confirmed the goal. Analysis. On review, there was some mutual contact. Gabriel tugged Brobbey's shirt noticeably in the build-up, while goalkeeper David Raya misjudged the flight of the ball and failed to clear it effectively. Though Brobbey's leg was high, the challenge didn't appear reckless enough to warrant a foul, and Arsenal's defensive errors did most of the damage. Verdict: goal stands. Not enough evidence for a foul. Final takeaway. Arsenal will feel hard done by, with at least 2 critical calls going against them in a tightly contested match. For Mikel Arteta's team, it was a reminder that fine margins and officiating inconsistencies can change the course of a game, and perhaps over a long season, even the trajectory of a title challenge. For Sunderland, it was a night of grit and resilience, and for Craig Pawson, another performance under the microscope. In the aftermath of the 2-2 draw, the debate over Craig Pawson's performance and the use of VAR dominated both media coverage and post-match interviews. Arsenal's frustration was palpable, not only because of the lost points but because the team felt they had done enough to win, only to be undone by what they saw as inconsistent officiating. Mikel Arteta, who has been vocal in the past about refereeing standards, remained measured in his comments but couldn't hide his disappointment. He acknowledged his team's defensive lapses late in the game, but also alluded to the small details that went against them. Those close to the manager described him as visibly frustrated in the dressing room, emphasizing that such decisions can change the momentum of an entire season. Behind the scenes, Arsenal staff reviewed the match footage extensively, pointing to specific incidents that they believe should have been handled differently by both the referee and the VAR officials. Club sources indicated that the Gunners plan to raise the matter formally with the Premier League's refereeing body, PGMOL, not in protest of the result but to seek clarity and consistency in future decisions. Analysts and pundits were quick to weigh in as well. Former players on post-match broadcasts noted that the lack of VAR intervention in the Merino incident was difficult to justify, given how clearly the Sunderland defender's arm made contact. Others pointed out that Zubimendi's yellow card, which led to the free kick and subsequent goal, was a turning point that unfairly tilted the game's balance. Meanwhile, Sunderland's perspective was understandably different. Manager Tony Mowbray praised his team's resilience and fighting spirit, highlighting how they continued to push until the final whistle. "We showed character," he said. "We went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the league and earned it." The draw, however, sparked wider discussion across English football about officiating consistency, especially in matches involving top sides. Former referees appeared on sports networks to analyze Pawson's decisions frame by frame, with most agreeing that while none of the calls were egregious, the cumulative effect painted a troubling picture of indecision and inconsistency. For Arsenal, the result meant more than just 2 dropped points. It was a psychological blow in a title race where every margin counts. The late goal from Brobby not only denied them victory, but also exposed defensive vulnerabilities that Arteta will be eager to address ahead of their upcoming fixtures. In the broader context, the match served as another reminder of how officiating remains one of the Premier League's most polarizing topics. Whether it's a missed penalty, an overlooked foul, or a subjective interpretation of clear and obvious error, moments like these continue to influence outcomes at the highest level. As the league moves deeper into the season, both Arsenal and the officials involved will feel the weight of this result. One as a setback in their campaign for consistency in silverware, the other as a fresh entry in an ongoing debate about accountability in modern refereeing.